Well, we're going to have a very great play. It's going to be the best play you've ever seen, believe me. I think Shakespeare's a total fraud, totally rigged. We all know Francis Bacon wrote all of Shakespeare's plays. Totally a lie, okay? We also know that, Willie Loman is a total loser, okay? He's a total loser. Death of a Salesman, good riddance, because you know what? He was a bum, and I think that my play is much better than anything Arthur Miller ever wrote, okay? And you know what? I'm a winner. I'm very well liked, okay? Not Willie Loman. Nobody liked Willie Loman. And Annie's a very nasty young woman. I don't like Annie. Her play is horrible. Tomorrow, well, you know what? I could end the civilization tomorrow and nobody would care.
So, as you know, I just want to get out of the game. And if I'm going to be completely honest and candid, I'm not comfortable being in the same room with Trump. And I'm very curious as to why he selected me, to do this interview, because I have been very critical of late of his policies and of his behavior. So, so like I said, I'm not going in to score political points here. I just want to see if there's a human being underneath all of that, if he is capable of being empathetic. Randy from Tennessee writes, Mr. President, you have said countless times that the election in 2020 was rigged and that you rightfully won. However, no one has shown the public any evidence that this is true. In fact, when the results were challenged in the courts back in 2020, every case was lost. My question to you is, if new evidence has been discovered, why has there not been any new cases?
Well, I think you look at the deep state, they've been doing a lot they want to hide it, they want to look like Biden won fair and square when he didn't. Everybody knows the election was rigged, okay? And I think if there's new evidence, we would take it into account, and I think I would be exonerated, I'd be vindicated, it would look very good for me. But I think with what's going on with these people, it's very sad, because everybody knows that I won that election. I won 3 terms. I won 3 times, I've only gotten 2 terms, but it's fine. I'm not mad, I'm not angry, I got even, I won. And I beat Kamala. So I think I did pretty good.
So what I'm hearing as far as the election results and the accusations of fraud, I think what it's pointing towards is that the American people have lost faith in the political process, in the democratic process, and I think what I would like to see more of, if anything comes out of this interview, is that people take a look, deep within. If you are believing, in the story that the election was rigged, when have you first discovered that belief? What happened to you, that made you believe that the election was rigged? And on the other side too, if you don't believe the election was rigged, why do you have the faith or the trust in our democratic process to support that story? So those are some of the kind of things that, regardless of how this interview with Trump goes, I would like to encourage people to have deeper conversations, between themselves, and not really focus so much on who is right. Really kind of look at what is right, not who is right, what is right, rather than ask the questions, what is your source, what is your evidence? Well, maybe the question really is, why do you believe your source? Why do you trust your source? And how do we move into deeper trust with each other?
Well, we're having a very special interview with Greg Fullerton, maybe one of the best podcasters I think ever. Joe Rogan is kind of he flip flops around. I don't like Joe too much anymore. And Tucker Carlson's become somewhat of a puppet of the radical left, just under nobody can really tell that that's what's going on, but we know that that's what's going on with Tucker. But Greg, I like Greg a lot. I think he's a very special young man, and I think we're going to have a very good interview. Maybe one of my best, probably better than anything CNN or even Fox News. I think this is going to be better than any other interview I've ever done. It's going to be a retrospective. I think people are going to look, they're going to say, Don, why did we leave you? You're so powerful, you're so good. We want you back, and that's what's going to happen. I'm going to be great again in the eyes of my supporters and maybe a couple other people. I don't know.
So, Great Again is an exploration of the last 10 years of this country through the guise of an interview with Donald Trump and a podcaster. And I came up with it because I've been doing Trump comedy for about the last year or so, and as it moved on in my head, I thought, you know what, I'd like to have an actual serious Trump experience.
Well, I'm Michael Shoeman, and I kind of call myself an artistic collaborator here on this project, Great Again. Derek Marshall, of course, plays Trump, and I play Greg Fullerton, who is a podcaster. And in my own real life, I put a lot of my own real life feelings into this character. I've been personally compared to a Tucker Carlson in some of my, in the way I articulate and the way I express myself.
And kind of go in a more dramatic and serious route. And so I came up with the play as a vehicle for just exploring the last 10 years as a country together through the imprint of a final interview for the podcaster.
But the way I see Greg Fullerton, the character, is he's someone who is just done with politics. He's been disillusioned, disenchanted, and he doesn't really see a way forward. He doesn't see a way forward socially when there's big money involved. In my own real life, and I want to bring this aspect of my real life into the character as well. Greg has befriended survivors of Epstein and of that kind of network.
And just kind of seeing what organically would develop, having like an actual conversation about the last 10 years.
I see Greg as someone who just doesn't want to be a part of those circles anymore. He wants to be real. His intention in this interview is not to win political points or to catch Trump in a lie or to do fact-checking or anything like that. He just wants to see if Trump is, underneath it all, if there's an empathetic human being underneath all of that. So that's the approach I'm taking to this character, and why I'm very passionate about this project, and why I'm glad that Derek and I are working together on this.
Well, I think hell's probably a place, and I don't want to go there, but I can't say whether I know if I could go to hell. I don't know. I don't want to go there. I mean, kind of a nasty place if you ask me. But
well, the thing is that I'm essentially playing what a lot of people would say is the biggest villain in our country's history. Now, there are other people that would completely flip that on the other way and say he's the greatest hero in this country's history.
Ask me, but I worry sometimes. I do think that it's possible maybe I won't get to heaven, and it does bother me from time to time. And I think I don't know.
But I do want to see where people feel about being presented with events that have happened in the last 10 years, all condensed into 1 hour long thing, and see how it goes and how they. I want to elicit a response, but I don't have a attachment to what that response is. I want the audience to have their own feelings, their own emotions, and develop their own experience from there.
I don't think anybody loves God more than me, but I have a very special connection with God because sometimes, I realize I am the chosen one. And I think people realize that our country is a Christian nation. We love our Christian values. Nobody loves the Bible more than me.
The highest outcome would either be an emotional response that can lead to either action or confirming your bias or changing your bias. It's really up to this whole thing is meant as an experiment and seeing how people respond to a historically accurate interpretation of one of the most controversial and notorious people in history, really.
I think that what we've got going on, we're turning our country back to its roots, back to a Christian nation under God, and it's going to be unbelievable. Well, we're going to have a very great play. It's going to be the best play you've ever seen, believe me. I think Shakespeare's a total fraud.
I've always seen theater as an opportunity, as kind of like the last refuge of deep democracy, or of really providing a space where everybody's voice can matter.
Death of a Salesman, good riddance, because you know what? He was a bum, and I think that my play is much better than anything Arthur Miller ever wrote. Okay.
So thank you for listening, and this is Greg Fullerton, and I'll see you at the Trump interview. And I've been asking the question of myself recently whether or not theater holds the power to change our political destinies, and I believe that is the case. I believe if we change the nature of our conversations from competitive political discourse to empathetic and asking deeper questions, we change our relationships to each other, and I think that might affect how we vote or how we go, what we express, while we're voting, because it's more than just our vote. It's our story. What are we bringing? How are we bringing ourselves, to every interaction? In my own journey as a director and a producer and as a performer, I've always felt like when the performance is over, everybody goes on and they do something else, and it's kind of like there was a nice little moment in time and it just becomes a memory. With this, I really would like the audience to come away, especially when we do the second part, which is the talk back and potentially some improv work that we do to develop the next play. What I really would like the audience to come away with is feeling like they've put their fingerprints on it. They've put a little bit of themselves in it, because this play evolves every time Derek and I perform it. And what we do is we take the conversations, we take the insights that the audience gives us and develop the next presentation of this. So my hope is that the audience feels like not only have they witnessed something meaningful, but they've participated in something meaningful.
And you know what? I'm a winner. I'm very well liked, okay? Not Willie Loman. Nobody liked Willie Loman. And Annie's a very nasty young woman. I don't like Annie. Her play is horrible. Tomorrow, well, you know what? I could end the civilization tomorrow and nobody would care.
And just like with, there's a lot of pain. There's a lot of pain with political discourse especially. And I'm hoping that we can provide the brave space and then eventually the safe space where we can all kind of get underneath the surface of what is informing that pain so that we can make better decisions at the polls.
I don't think anybody loves God more than me, but I have a very special connection with God because sometimes, I realize I am the chosen one, and I think people realize that our country is a Christian nation. We love our Christian values. Nobody loves the Bible more than me, and I think that what we've got going on, we're turning our country back to its roots, back to a Christian nation under God, and it's going to be unbelievable.
I have to admit, I am very much a skeptic of Trump's proclamations, of Trump's newfound religion since getting involved with politics. And I don't want to challenge that, but what I would like to do is start to understand why the Christian nationalism is, it seems to be so aligned with his actions and his personality. I've been taking my spirituality and my religion a little more seriously lately. That's not to say that I consider myself a religious person, but I'm taking the Bible a little bit more seriously, and I want to take it more seriously in this interview. So I want to hear from Trump. What is it in the Bible, or what is it about the Christian faith, that he truly resonates with, and not have it turn into a slogan or a political speech or a sales pitch. I want to understand, what is the honest spiritual connection, or what is the connection with God, if there really is any?
Well, I think hell's probably a place, and I don't want to go there, but I can't say whether I know if I could go to hell. I don't know. I don't want to go there. I mean, kind of a nasty place if you ask me. But
the question of hell, it's the kind of thing where I see that as a story that is meant to keep people in fear and try to exert this patriarchal influence that really wouldn't have any potency or power if it weren't for the fear.
I worry sometimes. I do think that it's possible maybe I won't get to heaven, and it does bother me from time to time. And I think I don't know, but I hope not.
Do I believe Trump is going to heaven or to hell or anything like that? Personally, no, I don't believe that. What I want to believe in is what sort of accountability, or what needs to happen for Trump to be humble and take accountability for some of his behaviors, some of his actions, some of that history. And I think that would be something that I would be interested in exploring in this interview.